All right. Today we are talking about amines and amides. Let's see. We got, what is an amine? It's an NH2. Have you heard of an amino acid?
Yes.
Because it's got a bunch of NH2s hanging off of it. What else? What other functional group do you think is an amino acid? Carboxylic acid, you got it, which has a carbonyl in it.
That's not what I said.
So, an amino acid is basically a carboxylic acid with an amine on it. And that's why it's called an amino acid, because another way of calling an amine is calling it an amino, depending upon if it's like a side chain. Just like alcohol, if it's the ending, if it's on the primary carbon, like on the end, then it's going to be an OL ending instead of an E. But what happens if you have another functional group, like carboxylic acid? Then it becomes a hydroxyl side chain. Just like an amine, if it's on a primary carbon, it's just going to be like butanamine. You drop the E and put amine. But what if you have a carboxylic acid or some other functional group that's like a higher power? Then side name is going to be amino, hence amino acid, carboxylic acid. All right, so in a secondary or tertiary amine, the longest numbered, each alkyl group bonded to the N atom O is named as an N-alkyl group. All right, so we'll talk about some of those examples. All right, so this is too hard. Let's start with a simple one. And it's ammonia, it's NH3, but because one of the bonds, one of the H's is lost. So how do you make an amine? Well, you add ammonia to it. And we'll get to that later. But we got 1, 2, 3, so this would be called propanamine. Originally propane with an E, but we dropped the E and put amine. Propanamine. All right, so we can get to something slightly more tricky, like this one. And this is a propane, or propane again. But the amine is on 2-propanamine. All right. And if that wasn't hard enough, let's just jump to the hardest one. So here an amine is in between a carbon chain, which is kind of goofy, but it can happen. And we got 1, 2, 3, 4. It looks like 4 is the longest chain. But you have the amine hanging off. So forget that methyl group there. Let's just say it's an amine right there. So this would be 2-butanamine. But since there's a methyl on the other side of the amine, we're going to call this N. N suggests that the amine is in between 2 carbons, stuck in the middle. And this carbon is the shorter chain of them, so we're going to name that next as a side chain. And side chains are il ending, YL. So it's going to be N-methyl, and then it's just normal. So what the amine is on which carbon? 2, and it's butanamine. And that's, you're not going to see something like that on IB, but I figured, why not talk about it, right? They're going to be pretty simple like this stuff. Let's do another example. Do you want another example? Or?
Yeah.
Sure. Do you want a hard one or easy one? Hard. All right. So, look at that one. Look at that. Wow. What's it going to start with?
N.
N. You got it. What's the shorter side carbon group? Ethyl. Which carbon is the amine on? 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 stands for pentanamine. Look at that. That's as hard as it gets. Kind of. I'm not right, but N-ethyl 3-pentanamine. Hey, why don't we name a basic amino acid using IUPAC naming? Most amino acids have like a common name, but let's do the IUPAC. There's the carboxylic acid, and why don't we do, oops, nope, NH2. 1, 2, 3, 4, so that's that's that smelly one, butanoic acid. So that's the ending part, butanoic acid. So carboxylic acid kind of trumps the amine in this, and we're playing our organic euchre. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, or 1, 2, what do you think? 3. So we got to start counting from the carboxylic acid. 1, 2, 3. So it's going to be 3 amino. And I don't think you need a dash. If you have a dash, it'd be fine. So 3 amino butanoic acid, and that's a type of amino acid. Amino acid. Wow, look at that. Learn something new every day. All right, so here's a pop quiz right here. If you don't understand this joke, then you are going to need some more practice.
Know what I mean?
Do you guys know Ernest? Okay, he did commercials in the 80s. Do you want to watch one?
Yeah.
Okay, we'll get a commercial going. This one's, he was so hilarious. He made movies in the 90s. Oh, I gotta use Google because school's blocking DuckDuckGo, so monopoly problems. All right, here it is.
Hey, Vern. Boy, I'm sure glad you switched from that uncool. Sprite's everything that stuff is.
Clear,
Clean,
caffeine free, but Sprite tastes better, 'cause only Sprite has lemon. Know what I mean? Pop me another one of them bad boys. How about it? Burn it! Burn it! My hand, burn! Burn it!
All right, so next is amides, and this is the last functional group that IB needs you to know. We got carboxylic acids plus an amine, and the ending is amide. So this is very similar to esters, where esters were made up of which two functional groups coming together? Alcohol and carboxylic acid, right? Was it? Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Alcohol and carboxylic acid makes an ester plus water. But what happens when you take a carboxylic acid and amine? Well, that makes an amide. And hey, I think that goes into like peptide bonds. So you don't have to know about biochemistry because paper 3 is gone this year. But we're going to talk about biochemistry after the IB test. And the nice thing about it is it takes all this organic chemistry stuff and builds off of it. So why don't we do a quick, simple example? We got, what's this? Why am I doing that? That's for esters. We're not doing that. All right. How about this one? Ethanamine. Ethanamine plus, this one's 1, 2, 3. Propanoic acid. So we got propanoic acid plus ethanamide. They're going to react to form two things. In this case, let's see, do I have the functional group? Functional group of an amide is a carbonyl group with an NH2 connected to it. All right. So here we got an N. Okay, here we go. One, two, three. 1, 2, 3. What do you think is the other molecule that's produced?
H2O.
H2O, you got it. What's another name for this type of reaction along with esters? Condensation reaction. Yeah, condensation reaction. So there's two types of condensation reactions. One is the formation of ester, and the other is the formation of an amide. All right. Why don't we keep it simple? Let's name this second. This one's a simpler one to name. Let's see. What we got here is 1, 2, 3. That's propane. So this is going to be propane amide. So you still drop the E, but you put the word amide instead. So propane amide.
Why wasn't the one that we did in the last example that we did in the... Oh, never mind.
Okay. Speaking of the last example where we used N, hey, we got a nitrogen that's in the middle. So what do you think this is going to start with? N. You got it. And the shortest chain is going to be the alkyl group in this case. We got 1, 2, 3 versus 1, 2, so it looks like ethyl. So we got N-ethyl 1, 2, 3 propane. Because it's on the main chain, it's not off of the N is not on the side chain, it's kind of in the middle here. So it's going to be propane amide. And since we got a carbonyl group, it's an amide and not an amine. If that's O was gone, it'd be N-ethyl propanamine. But now it's N-ethyl propanamide. Difference of the double bonded O. So now we named that, why don't we name this one here? Same deal, N. Wait, is this the same one? Oh my gosh. That was by coincidence. All right. So that's pretty much it. Let's do another example. These two? So those are different than amides? Do you want to go right? Do you want to do one more example of amide? Or? Yeah, let's do one more example of amide. All right. Ernest. Yeah, Ernest, Jim Varney, he played the dog, the Slinky dog in Toy Story. So, yeah. But then he died of lung, Jim Varney, the guy, Ernest, died of lung cancer at like age 49, I think. Yeah. So he was a chain smoker.
He died doing what he loved.
All right, so, what am I doing? I'm not making a amide. So, well, let's. We got an amine. We got a carboxylic acid. What type of amide is that going to make?
Condensation.
Yeah, condensation. Good try. Oh, technically this is NH right there. Did I miss it? This should have been NH. And nitrogens can have 3 bonds. They got to have 3. Because it has 5 outer electrons and 1 that's paired. So here we got, N. We got to start with N. And the short, well, I've been saying the short chain, but really, the part that gets the amide is the part that has the carbonyl group in it. So in this case, because this is the main functional group, you got a carboxylic acid. That's what matters. That's our main chain. Just happens to be we got this long alkyl chain coming off of it. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4 butyl and butyl, and then we got 1, 2. N-butyl, is that ethane? And then it's ethanamide. N-butyl ethanamide. All right, we'll have some more time to practice those. All right, going to nitriles and nitro. Actually, these, what do you call it? IB is going to want you to know these. And what we got going on is C triple bonded to N, also known as cyanide. So if this is like a side chain, it's sometimes called cyano. Cyano, off of the name cyanide. So that's if it's like a hydroxyl group with alcohol or an amino group with amine. A cyanide group would be cyano if it's a side chain. Otherwise, it's considered a nitrile. So the ending would be, instead of amine or all, would be nitrile. So this one is 1, 2, 3. So make sure I get this right. 4. So if you're going, and there's two different ways to name it. If you're going the nitrile name, you got to include the carbon that's attached to the nitrogen. So it's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4. That's butane. Yeah, I guess butane nitrile. So you don't drop the E. Butane. Yeah, I'm not going to be picky at spelling on that. You're not going to be asked to spell one of these, but they might say, if a nitrile reacts, you need to know what they're talking about. Another way of writing it would be 1 cyano. And cyano is referring to CN, the C triple bond to an N, which means you can't include that carbon in the main chain. So it would be 1, 2, 3. Propane.
Oh my god.
So we got 1 cyanopropane, or butanitrile. So let's do another one. Here's a nitrile because we got a cyanide, C triple bond to N. All right. Any ideas how I would start this one? This one's tricky. You got it?
Propane nitrile.
Nice job. And that is probably the simpler way of naming it. 2-methyl propane nitrile. Another way, if you're doing it cyano, let's see, 2. Oh, okay.
So you don't count the carbon?
If you're doing the nitrile, you do. But if you're calling it cyano, then the CN is a cyano, and you can't name it twice, that one carbon. So let's do the cyano. And it looks like this is the main chain, but you got to kind of invert yourself and think, well, actually this is the main chain, and this is a cyano functional group hanging off. So that means it would be 1, 2, 2 cyano propane. So you can either call it 1, 2, or 1, 2 methyl propane nitrile, or 2 cyano propane. Either way is acceptable. I gotta look at the quiz. I don't think that's gonna pop up. This is gonna be amines and amides plus everything else. But I have this on here because it's something that could be sprinkled in a question. They're not going to ask you on the IB test to name it, but they might use it in asking a question, just the terminology. All right, so then we got nitro, and that's if you got an NO2 hanging off, that functional group. Here we got, this is methane, and all you got to say is nitromethane. What happens if you had something like this? What would this be? Ethane.
So this is like what makes cars go fast.
Yeah, you could. 2-methyl, 1-nitropropane. I'm going to do the longest chain. That's 3, 1, 2, 3. We're talking about 1, 2, 2-methyl. I think that's how you do it. 1, 2, 3. We got a nitro on the first carbon and a methyl on the second. Basically, if you see nitro, it's NO2 hanging off. Like hydroxyl is OH hanging off. And I think that's it for naming. Yeah. So that means you go into that other packet. I forget the color. The pink one.
Hypothetically, what was cyanide?
Triple bond at the end.
Nice.
Yeah. So there's a lot of different variations of cyanide molecules. Cyanide is a functional group. I'm not sure which is the one that's used. That was started World War One.
One of them. Yep.
The first type of tables, like the ones that look like that with the boxes. You guys do all the box
We
ones.
don't have to do these.
I'll make those optional for extra practice.
Oh yeah, I've been waiting. I might. We can use it. Oh, we can use it.
Yes.
We have to take all the pictures.
No, hand them in, unless you want to take pictures.
No, I don't. This is a lot more work. My choices are marketing. My question, like, I think I have those choices.
They're marketing. Okay. Did you
Oh,
give them
I mean,
I'm pretty sure I have grades in there. It's the same in my case as well.
Yeah. It's because we just turn everything on canvas, so canvas works
Is it
missing,
chalk?
and then when it turns to sky, we're sky.
I don't think you can get rid of that.
No, you can, but I would go into every single one and uncheck it. And then,
I don't know. Is
Is
it
it
really a
actually
big deal? It doesn't
no.
matter.
Well,
Well,
unless
it's
compared to styrofoam.
They're like,
I
they're
want to test it on.
Yeah, I know, but it like gets grade for it, obviously.
Me too.
No, you don't get penalized. It's just for
I really
communicating with
thought
your
it was
academic.
I really hated going back to sleep and waiting for my mom to wake me up.
Yeah, it's weird because usually the Skyworks is the final stage, but sometimes it is polarized and sometimes it closes. Yeah, because I've got the update.
Because he also
Sometimes after I already
strikes.
Oh my gosh, I gotta turn this off here. Bye bye.